What's going on YouTube? It's TH back again with another video, and today we're continuing our Fix the Franchise series with the New England Patriots. We finally made it through our 7-10 slog. We now made it to our first 8-9 team, and hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, be sure to hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you're around here, want to see more football content, more draft coverage, more offseason content, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And of course, tell me what you would do to fix the New England Patriots down below in the comments section. Whether you're a Patriots fan or just an NFL junkie like myself, what moves are you making in the offseason via free agency, trades, the draft? Love to hear your thoughts and early predictions for what the Patriots do. But obviously coming off an 8-9 season, they have 11 draft picks, which is a really solid amount. But, you know, we're looking at 7 of those being on day 3, 3 4s, and 4 6s, no 5th. So sorry, Pats fans. But I'd be interested because, you know, kind of take us into the next point here. A lot of cap space, 5th most in the NFL, a little more than $36 million. Could they trade one of those 4s for a veteran or a 6th? Maybe for, you know, an aging veteran who makes a lot of money but could be a solid plug-in option for New England. I think they explore that market, and that tends to be something they kind of do. And I think with the amount of cap space they have, they become a logical destination for something like that. And of course, there's a name somewhere there in the middle of the screen where that's a pretty big cap hit, and I'd love to see them make that type of move. Let's go ahead and start talking free agency. I want to note I didn't go out there and look for free agents, you know, outside of house. I focused mostly on the in-house stuff. So if you're a Patriots fan, let me know some logical, you know, free agent landings or targets, maybe, whether it's, you know, Mike McGlinchey or it's a linebacker, it's a corner, it's a wide receiver. Let me know what you would think. Also, the veteran market, like obviously DeAndre Hopkins is a name you see on the screen. Brandon Cooks, could they bring him back to New England? That'd be interesting. So anyways, let me know what you think some of those other you know, free agent targets could be. But I focus on the in-house stuff. I'm actually going to start with the second bulletin point there, who they could cut to save money. I did not include the tight ends because I kept finding conflicting information specifically about Jonnu Smith and his dead cap. But I've also heard where cutting each one would save $10 million a pop. So that'd be $20 million between those 2 tight ends. And if that's true, that on top of cutting Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Mills, Trent Brown, you're talking about north of $47 million worth of cap space. So I don't know exactly what the contract looks like for those 2 tight ends, but I think at least one of those 2 is gone. So add them on to the total I already have here. $27.6 million worth of savings by moving on from Parker, Bourne, Mills, and Brown. Maybe you keep Parker because they're already short on wide receiver talent, and he is a good contested catch guy. So I could see them keeping him around. And again, the tight end's going to factor into this. So we're going to be talking about New England. Moving on from some of these guys and those tight ends, having north of $50-60 million worth of cap space. So they can make some big moves. And I give credit to, you know, the front office, Bill Belichick, for how they structured some of the contracts in that offseason splurge 2 years back where they gave a lot of money out to a lot of different guys. But, you know, Nelson Aguilar is now off the books. They had a good out for Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Mills, which, you know, by the way, Kendrick Bourne was pretty good that first year in New England. Just for whatever reason, those 2 teams, you know, that relationship seemed to sour, Bourne and then the Patriots. But anyways, then I'd like to see them bring back Jacoby Myers. To me, this is a team that they need 2 wide receivers this offseason, whether it's Myers and D-Hop, someone else, a pick at 14 and Myers. You know, however it ultimately plays out, they need 2 wide receivers this year to go fully all in on Mac Jones. But I'd like to see them bring back Jacoby Myers. We'll see. Like, if he's asking for Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins money, then no shot. But if he's, you know, right around that $20 million, you know, range, I think maybe you could make that work. It's going to be tough, though, because, you know, outside of the uncertainty that is OBJ, to me, for wide receivers that played last year and are free agents, Jacoby Myers is the best guy out there. So when you're the best guy, your market gets inflated a little bit. So that may raise the price to a point where New England's uncomfortable with it, and then, you know, maybe you explore more of the route that I have in the trade or the draft conversation a little bit later on. But I'd like to see them bring back Damian Harris too. I think him and Stevenson created a pretty nice committee. If you get Harris back for cheap, I think you might as well just keep what's working. And then Marcus Cannon too, because, you know, tackle's a need right now, and if you can get him back on the cheap, he at least becomes a solid swing tackle, if not someone who could be, you know, kind of a fill-in guy if you only get 1 tackle this offseason. So, yeah, would like to see him come back as well. Taking us now into the draft. Perfect worlds. I'm looking at a scenario where 14's using an offensive tackle. Ideally, Paris Johnson Jr., he's my OT1, but him, Skoronski, maybe even Broderick Jones to be like a right tackle. I think he kind of profiles better there given his weaknesses, I think, right now, and his rawness as a pass protector. So, you know, one of those 3 guys at 14 isn't out of this world, and it could certainly happen. Or they go wide receiver, and then you use your second rounder to get DeAndre Hopkins. To me, that or basically comes down to Jacoby Myers. Like, if you get Jacoby Myers and can make the trade for DeAndre Hopkins, awesome. Like, that is fantastic. Or if you re-sign Myers, can't get D-Hop, taking a guy at 14, a wide receiver at 14 would be fantastic. Quentin Johnston is something I've mocked a ton to the Patriots. So I'd like to see that happen. Or, you know, I'm not a crazy big JSN guy, but I could see a world where they lose Myers, where you could pair up Jackson Smith and Jigba as like a volume slot guy and trade your second for DeAndre Hopkins, and then have a guy who wins on the outside, one guy who wins on the inside. Again, not a big Jackson Smith and Jigba guy, but that could be an interesting pairing and a really fun fit there in New England. So a couple different routes that could go down, but if no D-Hop move is made, then, I think 14 is a great spot to take a wide receiver. Again, Quentin Johnston's my top guy on my board, so that would be the route I'd like to see them go down. And then off the tackle or corner, 47, 37, I think you can go either way. In some ways, the tackle class isn't super deep, so I'd kind of prefer them to go there at 47. But a lot of the second-round tackles aren't necessarily great value. Maybe you can get Blake Freeland in the third or someone kind of like that. And then, maybe lean into a strengthless class, take corner at 47. That being said, it's a deep corner class, so you can probably get a guy at 77. So kind of pinballing back and forth there. Basically, play the board. Whichever gives you better value, that's the route you take. Also, some other position groups I think could be in play. I'll start with linebacker. It's the last one I listed, but if Drew Sanders is somehow there at 47, I don't want to say somehow, but if he falls to 47, that becomes a really interesting fit. We've been kind of waiting for New England to land that, linebacker of the future, that face of the middle of the defense for, the long-term purposes of the Patriots franchise. And, the blitzing capabilities become an interesting fit for Bill Belichick. Obviously, like Donta Hightower and his role in New England kind of comes to mind. Could Sanders do that? I think he could. So that becomes an interesting pick. But other areas they could address, specifically on like day 3, because I still think, wide receiver, tackle, corner are where I would go with those top 100 picks. But, edge, safety, trying to find that Devin McCourty replacement. I didn't hit on that, but bring back Devin McCourty if he doesn't retire. He's been a good Patriot. He's still playing good football. That over-the-top free safety is something they value, so bring him back if he doesn't retire. But if he does, then safety becomes an even bigger need. But if he doesn't, try to draft that guy that could be your Devin McCourty replacement, because, you're probably only about one more year worth of McCourty on the roster. And then, like I said, linebacker, maybe it's a day 3 thing. Nick Herbig was this guy who had a pretty disappointing combine, not very fast, doesn't have good arm length, but was a productive pass rusher. If he fell to the Patriots in the 6th round, that'd be the one spot where I'm like, Nick Herbig somehow could work in New England. So something like that, they're interesting. Like Kyle Van Noy is this hybrid linebacker edge rusher, so they're always interesting what their edge type is. So linebacker, edge, safety, something I think they can address, later on in the draft and specifically on day 3. But hey, the final notes here, I didn't really talk about it, but Bill O'Brien is the single biggest coordinator leap in my opinion this offseason, followed closely behind by Minnesota's DC change with Ed Donatel being replaced by Brian Flores. But to me, going from Matt Patricia up to Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien may not have been a great general manager in Houston, but he's pretty good with the X's and O's, and I think he's going to be a huge step in the right direction to try to develop Mac Jones. And I've even heard some evaluators describe last year as a lost year for Mac Jones, which is a travesty when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. That's the single biggest advantage you have in the NFL. So I love that they made that hire. Now I'm like, go all in. Let's get some wide receivers around him, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins, re-signing Jacoby Myers, or the draft, or taking someone at 14. It's another free agent. I think they need 2 wide receivers into the mix, and 2 wide receivers plus maybe keeping Devontae Parker around or something like that. So they just got to put some weapons around Mac Jones, because 2 things. One, again, rookie contracts. This is the biggest cheat code you have in the NFL. So go all in and try to win right now, even though you're in a good division. Secondly, the decision is going to eventually come where you have to decide, is Mac Jones worth $30 million a year? Is he worth $40 a year? Is he worth $45 a year? You've got to be able to make that decision as best you can. So the only way you're going to get a good feel for what Mac Jones' potential is and what he could be is by giving him a fair shot, giving him a good situation. The OC change was paramount. Now you got to put some wide receivers around him. So again, that's my big focus. You also need to patch up that offensive line, but New England's always done a good job of making sure that unit's at least serviceable. So I'm not too worried. Bill Belichick's going to have that O-line in good shape. Now it comes down. We got to add some wide receivers. You made the OC change. Let's give Mac Jones a fair shot. Let's see what he's all about. Let's see what that potential really takes him to him. Let's see where that potential really takes Mac Jones. But that is going to do it for my Fix the Franchise on the New England Patriots. Really fascinating team, obviously playing under the GOAT of a head coach. So they're always competitive. Now we just got to clean up that roster. And I think with the right moves, this team could be sneaky competitive in the AFC. So let me know what you would do to fix the Patriots down below in the comment section, whether you're a New England fan or just an NFL junkie like myself. What moves are you making via trade, free agency, the draft? Love to hear your thoughts and early predictions for New England down below. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are new and looking for more NFL content in your lives. But until next time, my name is Teej, and I'm signing off.